Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our 2026 NFL Draft Show, and we are going to feature the number one quarterback. Yes, I can say it right now. The number one quarterback. You would be thinking Dante Moore from Oregon, but no, if you haven't paid much attention to what happened just earlier today, Dante had a conference call and was not able to he's not going to declare himself eligible for the draft this year. He's going to go back to school. I think he's going to make a tremendous amount of money. But the number two guy that was on the list is going to be the number one guy now, and that's Fernando Mendoza. And he'll be playing Monday night for a national championship with the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. Vincent Turner, Joey Clinkscale, Brian LeBel, join me. We appreciate all of your insight, gentlemen. And Vincent, I'm going to start with you. Here's a kid from Miami getting to play in the national championship game. I guess if they can cut a hole in the fence and make it big enough to where some of Fernando's friends and colleagues from high school, junior high, and maybe even some guys from the neighborhood that he used to play stickball with. They're all going to want to see this young man play. Great story that he has. Real smart kid. Went to Cal Berkeley, played there for a couple years, leaves and goes to really quarterback U now. Playing for Kurt Cignetti is definitely a quarterback whispering experience, and he's sure taking advantage of it. Vincent, first and foremost, let's just talk a little bit about what he brings to the table and why you like him as much as he does, and he should be the number one player taken in the draft.
Went to Indiana, put Indiana on the map into the national championship game. What I like about him most of all, he's very accurate with the football, and he's got elite deep ball placement. That over-the-shoulder throw is very excellent. And like I said, a lot of people saying he's not athletic. But go back to the Alabama game. Some of them key first downs that the Indiana offense made, he made with his legs. And most of all, you got to love the story. Grew up, 3 miles from the University of Miami campus, went to Crystal Columbus High School, same high school as father. His father, who was a high school teammate, played on the offensive line with Mario Cristobal. And him going back to Miami, you couldn't write it no much better. But what I like about him, he doesn't have no problems off the field. His character is flawless. Graduated from Cal. Then went to the Big Ten, academic All-American. He's what you call a classic, the All-American man. When you look at all the great quarterbacks, to me, he's another Roger Staubach, to be honest about it. Nothing is wrong with this young man. And he's taking a team that a lot of people are very shocked at, a school that's known for basketball. And the team has been dominant in the playoffs. You ask me personally, I didn't think they were going to beat Alabama 38-3. And I definitely didn't think they were going to beat Oregon like they did. But I learned this. He's got a hell of a football team behind him and a hell of a coach that believed in him. And you look at his stats, there's no question about it. He should have won the Heisman. 3,300 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 INTs, 72% completion rate. And then think about this. In this century, Matt Leinart won a Heisman and national championship. Cam Newton won a Heisman and national championship. Jameis Winston won a Heisman and national championship. Joe Burrow won a Heisman and national championship. He can enjoy that elite class on Monday night in his hometown of Miami, out of Christopher Columbus High School. And he's doing it at a school that we all know is Bobby Knight's palace. Back to you, Harper LeBel.
Well, Indiana is third in the country in scoring, Joey. They're second in defense. That obviously has a lot to do with it. But some of the things that impressed me is here's a young guy that, they had some games that were pretty easy at the beginning with Kennesaw State, Indiana State, Old Dominion. Illinois was number 9 in the country. They beat them 63-10. They have Iowa next. They beat Oregon by 10. They beat Michigan State 38 to 13. 56 against UCLA, 55 against Maryland, 56 against Purdue. It was 13-10 in that championship game in the Big Ten, but they beat Ohio State. And that, to me, was what really set them apart. And they said, I don't care, we're the little engine that could. They dominate Alabama. They scored 56 points against Oregon, and they're going to play Miami for the national championship. Is this a Cinderella story where anybody could do it, or is it that they are so much better because Fernando Mendoza is behind the helm for them and under center?
Indiana is the epitome of a great football team. A collection of individuals may not be, they have 0 5-star guys on their roster. especially when you compare them to Oregon. Oregon had between 4 and 5 star guys. They had 58, and I think Indiana had 7 total.
Yeah.
And now 0, 5, and 7 4-stars. So
right.
this is a great football team. Coach Signetti has done an amazing job, but this guy is the true leader of the football team. He is a true extension of Coach Signetti and the coaching staff, and he does it. He doesn't do it the same way Coach Signetti does it, but he does it his own way, and his own way is as effective, if not more, not only for his offense and his offensive line, but for the defense as well. But the thing about Fernando that he has elite timing. He has elite ball placement and accuracy. He is a pretty good athlete. He's a sneaky good athlete. People don't realize that. I mean, he moves well. He can get away from pressure. He runs well. He has a very, very high football acumen. Okay, if he sees it once, he sees it twice, you can best believe the second or third time he sees it, it's a wrap. You know, he's going to exactly know how to play this defense. He has elite leadership ability. Great feel for the pocket. When the pocket gets constricted, he knows when to step up, when to roll out the backside. Now, something he has to work on, which kind of surfaced in the last game, is he needs to protect the ball better. I think he had 4 or 5. Well, not 4 or 5, but he had 2 or 3 fumbles of the ball, and then they got the ball back, other than one time, I believe. But he has to do a better job of securing the ball. And he doesn't have great foot quickness, but he's got great balance, great awareness. His body control in the pocket is really good. His timing, his leadership, his poise in the pocket, all those things that you want your number one pick and your top pick as a quarterback to be. He has all those skills, and some of them he has them in spades as far as his smarts, his leadership ability, football acumen, his ability to throw guys open. And we talked about Trinidad Chandler's ability to throw guys open. This guy can throw guys open. He doesn't have to see them open to complete the ball. And that's a skill that, you've got to be smart, because you've got to trust your eyes. You got to trust what you've learned in the past and know that this guy may not be open when I throw the ball. But guess what? I'm going to throw him open. I'm going to put the ball in a place over his right shoulder, over his left shoulder. On an out route, I'm going to get it outside where there's going to be a catch or a completion. I'm not going to underthrow this ball like the Oregon quarterback did, and it's a pick six going the other way. Ball placement, ball accuracy, touch, time, all those things are you have to be a high-level quarterback, and this guy has that. So his velocity on the ball is good. Again, he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but he's got great ball velocity. He can throw it deep because he throws with timing. And his throwing motion is a little tight, is a little short. I mean, it's not the prototypical, he's not a wrist thrower like a Dan Marino or a wrist thrower like an Aaron Rodgers or Michael Vick. I mean, he's more of an arm thrower, but it's kind of shortened. But everything else he has in spades. And if you're going to complete it at 72%, I'm not going to ask you to change your throwing motion. I won't. Yeah. We're going to be results oriented. We're not going to worry about the changing of throwing motion. If you can throw it at 72%, I want you to do exactly what you've been doing. But I really like this guy, and there's no reason for this guy not to be the number one pick in the draft. Now, again, he's a leader of men. And if he goes where I think he might be going, he's going to need to be a leader and more, because that team has a lot of holes and a lot of missing pieces, and hasn't been always run the best way from a management standpoint. But this guy has a ton of ability.
Well, talent speaks loudly. 3,300 yards, Brian, 41 touchdowns in a Big Ten conference where you have to run the football. And they had 33 touchdowns on the ground, Indiana did. And as I mentioned a little while ago, they're the third highest scoring team in the country. And Fernando's 41-6 ratio from touchdowns to interception. All of that is very impressive. As Joey said, he's a leader. He's the guy that basically you give him a playbook, and it seems like he is a coach on the field because he tells everybody where they need to be, and he gets the ball completed to who he needs to. What are the numbers for his receivers? Cooper and Surratt, 64 and 62 receptions, 866, 802 respectively, 13 and 15 touchdowns, 28 touchdowns to his 2 top receivers. Obviously, he's going to go to the guys that are going to make big plays. He has done that with spades, and everything about him is just This is a real guy that you would want to have on your team no matter where you draft him.
Yeah, I think the Signetti Mendoza match was a match made in heaven. I think it was kind of the perfect storm, as you will, the unlocking Fernando's talent and what he's able to do on the football field, because he was at Cal, he was kind of an afterthought. You saw flashes, but the numbers weren't there, right? The winning wasn't there. And, he goes east to Indiana, and all of a sudden it's just, he's a completely different guy. And it's just, honestly, I think a good litmus test for what he's going to have to do at the next level, right? Because if you ask anybody, any Indiana alumni, any fan of the school, anybody that was there, if they had a chance to even compete for the Big Ten, if they were in the conversation and they were at the top of the standings after week 3 or 4, it's a win for them typically. And it was just an incredible turnaround. And I think that's going to translate to the next level, because that's probably what he's going to have to do if he ends up in Vegas, if he ends up with the Jets, wherever he ends up. He's going to have to, have that same mentality that, hey, doesn't really matter who's here. It doesn't really matter who you play for. It doesn't matter who's lined up against us. We believe that we can win. We believe that we can go out there and fix whatever problems we have, and we can turn this program around. And that's exactly what they did in Indiana. And I think it's Joey talked about all the different things that he does incredibly well. And I think to showcase it on the stage, to go from playing at Cal, where you're not really playing in prime time and no one really cares what you're doing, to be able to do it against Ohio State and the Michigans and all the Big Ten teams. There were a lot of really good defenses in the Big Ten this year, and they all looked really bad against this Indiana football team. And it was it was play after play that Fernando made. He's got a phenomenal highlight tape just from this season alone. And I think the idea of him just improving leaps and bounds, his numbers jumped exponentially. His completion percentage went up. His yards went up. His touchdowns went up. The interceptions were about the same, but they weren't too bad to begin with. There's not much you can dislike about this kid off the field. I think he's the perfect guy, right? There's nothing you can really poke at with his personal life and his behavioral stuff and what he says. He always seems to say the right thing, and you can't really say enough about this kid, top to bottom. I think he's a complete dude. He's a complete quarterback, and I think I think if you're a Raiders fan right now, you're licking your chops, because this guy has a chance to come in and turn your franchise around.
Yeah, he certainly is a part of an amazing story, Vincent. You mentioned that Indiana is a basketball school. Are they playing with house money right now? When I went out to California, Brian, you were on the flight. There were Alabama and Indiana folks that were going out to the Rose Bowl on New Year's Eve day, and they're just smiling ear to ear. The Indiana fans, they're so glad to be there. Are they going to make a statue out of this guy if they win the national championship? They're going to have to, because he's not going to be there any longer, right? He's really maxed out on what he could possibly do, going 16-0 and undefeated, and that's what dreams are made of, aren't they, Vincent?
No question about it. That's why I call him the Roger Staubach of football. Squeaky clean off the field. He's pro ready to go to the next level. I think what's amazing to me, I'm going to say it one more time, and me being on this world for 65 years and loving sports at a high level, especially college basketball, you talk about Indiana in any realm of athletic proudness, you're going to mention basketball and Bobby Knight. And the last time Indiana even been to a Rose Bowl was 1967 against O.J. Simpson and the Trojans. But there was one fact that really blew my mind away, that Indiana has the largest alumni in the country. I didn't see that coming. And then Mark Cuban is an Indiana alumni, and saw him smiling on the sidelines. I'm just going to look forward to Monday night, and I think the University of Indiana is going to take over Miami. And then have Mark Cuban there, and then have this gentleman right here that's squeaky clean and pro ready for the next level. It's going to be special. And I want to say Miami's going to win the football game. I don't want to give my prediction because this is an NFL draft prospect show. But at the end of the day, with this young man, how he's played and the skill level we talked about him so far tonight, it's going to be very hard for Miami to really beat Indiana with him under center. But I love the story, and I love the young man, and the young man can speak very well. And right now, it's just like the All-American that we love in the United States. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, Joey, there's a couple of things that his arm strength isn't perfect. He's 6'5". He stands well in the pocket, but he doesn't move around as much as maybe some people would like. I'm not trying to dig on him in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying everyone has some weaknesses, some things that you can work on. if he has to deal with the speed edge rusher, right? He's had great pocket protection. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been enough to be able to get them to the next level and really dominate. Is that something that you take into account, again, from a general manager perspective? How does he do when he's under pressure? So far, I think he's answered the bell on each and every occasion, but is there anything that concerns you?
None of the things we've mentioned concern me. I'm not concerned about his, because he runs well enough. I'm not concerned about his athletic ability. Foot quickness, maybe a little bit, but foot quickness and athletic ability are two different things. But so I'm not really concerned there. I'm not really concerned about how he handles pressure. He's handled pressure. He's handled pressure twice against Ohio State. Well, maybe they only played him once this year. Twice against Oregon, who has a couple guys that'll be first round picks. So I'm not really concerned about any of that. He's everything I think this player has needed to check off going into the national championship game. He's done that. He won the Heisman. He was raised the right way, and I don't want to go down that road too far, but he was raised the right way. The family is amazing. I know his mom is going through something right now. They're really close-knit family. He's the kind of kid that you want leading your franchise. Okay. And from an off the field and an on the field. I mean, when you say off the field, the on the field things have to match that. And he's that good a player that the on the field things match the kind of character, integrity, and personality that this kid has. So it's an amazing story. Hollywood had come calling one day because Indiana was, up until he got there, was the losingest program in the history of Division I football. And that changed when he got there.
Yeah.
Now they're just the second losingest program.
Well, hey, anytime you can go 16-0, right now they're 15-0, and you can't switch your place from worst to second worst, it's got to be pretty bad. But the program has certainly had some shortfalls, and that's again what makes this such a Cinderella story. And what intrigues you, Brian, is ability to just continually get the other guys on the offense to where the running back goes, man, I missed that block. I'm not going to do it again. I swear. I'm going to keep me in, and we're going to get it next. We're going to get the first down. And the offensive linemen, they fight for him. Tight ends find a way to get open. The wide receivers, which I mentioned earlier, it seems like all three of us have really mentioned the team aspect of this, and they're all getting it at the right time. But they're playing smart. They're playing with poise, right? They're playing with a lot of determination as well. They don't have a single 5-star. They've only got a couple of 4-stars, and it's us against the world. And I think the you can't beat all of us aspect of it is a really intimidating factor. And when you're playing with such confidence, it sure shows.
Yeah, I think that mentality, though, has to be from the coach, right? That a lot of that and the way they buy in and the way they've done this is, Cignetti being what he is. And he's a tremendous football coach. And, he'll tell you, he'll say, hey, my resume speaks for itself. Look me up. I just win, right? He's gone on record saying that. But I think credit to Mendoza for being able to come in a new situation. Again, with the portal, everything, it's tough for a lot of these guys because it's a reset, right? You got to buy into a new system. You got to change everything up and you got to adapt. And Mendoza came in, he was the perfect leader. He bought into what Cignetti was preaching and not only bought it, but they believe in it, right? If you watch this team all year, there was really never a moment. I think the touchdown drive he led late against Penn State, that's when I really looked at this football team and said, hey, these guys might be really special because there was not an ounce of fear. There was not an ounce of doubt. If you watch Mendoza from the last guy on the bench, everybody believed that they were going to go down the field and win that game. And I think that was the same mentality they had against Ohio State. That's probably the same mentality they had week one. It was a little difficult because obviously, most people aren't really going to have Indiana on their radar coming in, but this is something they did all year. And Mendoza he encapsulated that perfectly. And I think he's got a chance to do it at the next level. And like we mentioned, his family and all the other stuff, I think that's just the kind of person he is, right? I think he believes in what he's doing. I think he believes in the people around him. And I think he's got a tremendous amount of confidence. And as a player, when you can look at that and see that in your quarterback's face and when you're in the huddle, it's an everyday thing. And he lives it and he breathes it and everything about him. It's very, very difficult not to want to run through a brick wall for that guy and not to buy in. And when you do that and you get a collective of guys that do it, however many guys you have a college roster, on a full NFL roster, if you could do that, everybody's going to buy in and you're going to find yourself winning some football games. So that's exactly what Indiana did. It was just a little bit quicker than we thought and a couple more wins than we probably anticipated them having.
He's 6'5". He's 225 pounds. He will most likely be the first player taken in the NFL draft now that Dante Moore has declared that he wants to play one more year of college football at the University of Oregon. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, but certainly the national championship, the Heisman Trophy, and maybe a number one spot in the NFL draft. What a trifecta that would be for Fernando Mendoza. We wish him well. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. On behalf of Vincent Turner, Joey Clinkscales, Brian LeBel, I want to say thank you for watching 100 Yards of Football. This has been the 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe and tell a friend. We appreciate you being a part of the program, and